So after I taught section 8.1, I got to thinking maybe some of y'all have never seen the equation of a circle, because we had to identify some stuff in 8.1. Is it a circle or whatever, okay? All right, so if you're already comfortable with circles, skip this part right here that I'm doing, okay? If you're not comfortable with circles, then this is for you. Alright, so I have x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared is equal to r squared. That's the equation of a circle. With the center of the circle at h, k, and the radius is the square root of this number. Square root of r squared will be r. And we just take the positive one for a radius because you can't draw a circle with a negative radius. Alright, so what do I do to find the center? Take the opposite of number that's here with x. Opposite number that's here with y, but it's got to be inside of parentheses squared. And then take the square root of this number here to find your radius. Alright, determine the center and the radius of the circle. Alright, so I have x plus 3 squared plus y minus 1 squared is equal to 16. Center. Center of this circle is going to be, I have x plus or minus some number squared. So the center is going to be the opposite of this number here, which is negative 3. And then with your y minus 1 squared, take the opposite of the number that's with y. That's 1. And your radius is going to be the square root of this number here, just a positive one. So that is 4. All right, what about this one here, okay? Let's find our center. And let's find our radius. Alright, so what's the center? We have x minus some number squared, so take the opposite of this number here, which is 1.5. And what about y now? Y is not with some number squared, but I could write y minus 0 squared. And wouldn't that be the same thing as y squared? So what's actually that number there is 0. And the radius is the principal square root of this number, which is what? 1.5. Alright, so that's determining the center and the radius whenever I have my equation in standard form. But as you can imagine, not all these equations are in standard form to begin with. Let's suppose that we're given an equation and we're told to find the center and the radius, but it's not in a pretty standard form, okay? We have x squared plus y squared plus 12x minus 14y plus 84 is equal to 0. And I'm told this is a circle, find the center and the radius. Alright, so to find the center and the radius, what I'll need to do is transform this into the form x minus some number squared plus y minus some number squared is equal to r squared. So I need to transform that equation into the standard form of a circle. Well, let's see. If I'm going to do this, here's what I need to have. I need to have x, then y term, and then a constant over on the other side, okay? So I need this constant on the other side, so I'm going to subtract 84 from both sides. But also, let me put my x terms here in here together, then I'll put my y terms together, okay? So I have x squared plus 12x plus y squared minus 14y is equal to negative 84. So I got my x's together, got my y's together, constants on the other side. Alright, now what I do is I write x squared plus 12x, put it in parentheses with a space. Then I put plus my y squared minus 14y, put that in parentheses with a space, is equal to negative 84. And what I do to put this stuff in this standard form is I complete the square here. Ooh, we might have to blow some dust off over completing the square method. We probably haven't used that since freshman or sophomore year in high school. How do you complete the square here next? You take 1/2 what we call the linear coefficient. So take 1/2 12, which is 6. And add the square of that inside here. So 1/2 of 12 is 6. Add the square of it. Well, I can't just start adding stuff to one side of something, okay? If I could, I would say this, okay? my bank account has a balance of, I don't know, $7,000, let's say. Well, I don't like that number. I want $1 million more, so I just add $1 million right here, right? No, it doesn't work that way. You can't just start adding stuff in, okay? All right, anyway. Can't just start adding stuff in, so I added what to this side of my equation? I added 6 squared, right? So this side, negative 84, I'm going to add 6 squared as well to keep it balanced. All right, plus, let's bring down this y squared minus 14y, and let's complete the square in y. So we take 1/2 of 14, which is what? 7, and we add the square of it, plus 7 squared. Well, what I add to one side, I have to add what? To the other side. Now, some of y'all were taught to take 1/2 of negative 14, which is negative 7. But it's not going to matter, because if you square negative 7, like if you put negative 7 in parentheses here and square it, you'll still get the same thing. Alright, so anytime you do this method of completing a square, what you end up with here is you end up with a binomial squared. What I mean by binomial, just 2 terms squared. And what it ends up being is the 2 pieces that are squared go in there with a plus or a minus between them. What's the first piece that's being squared? X. What's the second piece that's being squared? 6. What's the sign between them? Well, look at this number here. That's a plus, so that's going to be plus. Let's do the same thing for y's, okay? We're going to create a binomial squared. What's the first thing that's being squared here? Y. What's the second thing that's being squared here? 7. And what's the sign of the number in the middle? Minus, right? And then you just calculate this side, okay? So that's negative 84 plus 36 plus 49. Now some of you are thinking, well, wait, what happened to the, I get this question asked every single time I teach this stuff. What happened to the 12 here? What happened to the 14 there? Well, do this on your own. Go off to the side, another sheet of paper, do some scratch work. Take x plus 6 and square it. So x plus 6 times x plus 6, and when you multiply it, you will get exactly this once you combine like terms. Same thing with this x minus 7. If you go off to the side on another sheet of paper and you square it out, you will get that back. Okay? Alright, let's see. We have x plus 6 squared plus y minus 7 squared is equal to, now what do I get here, okay? So if I add these up, I get what? What number do I get? That's 50. We could basically say 50 plus negative 84. So that gives me what? Negative 35. Negative 35 plus 36 is what? 1. Now, is this in this form now? X with some number squared. X with some number squared plus y with some number squared. Y with some number squared. Don't worry about if it has a plus or a minus there, okay? Is equal to some number squared. Yes, it's in that form. So what's my center? My center is going to be the opposite of this number, so negative 6, and the opposite of that number, 7, right? What's my radius? Square root of 1, which is what? Or the principal square root of 1, which is 1. Well, let's do one more of these and make sure we got it down, okay? And that's part B in our notes. Part B says, okay, here's a circle. Find a center and the radius of your circle. And for part B, they're giving us x squared plus y squared plus 22x minus 4 is equal to 0. So if I want to find the center and the radius of this, I want to take this and put it in standard form of the equation of a circle. So let's see. For standard form, what I'm going to do is get my x's next to each other, my y's together, and my constant term needs to go to the other side. So put these two x's together, okay? x squared plus 22x. Then next you have plus y squared. You have no other y terms, but you need to bring this constant to the other side and call it 4. Alright, so I'm going to take this x squared plus 22x, and I'm going to put it in parentheses with a space, plus this y squared, well I have no other y terms to put in parentheses with it, is equal to 4. Now let's complete the square in x here. So we're going to have x squared plus 22x plus what? Take half of this number, which is 11, and square it. That's what we're adding. Plus y squared is equal to 4, but I just added what? 11 squared here? What am I going to do? Add 11 squared to the other side. Alright, so what does this do? This becomes x, remember the two things that are being squared, x and 11, quantity squared, and the sign in the middle term goes in there. So x plus 11 squared. Plus y squared is equal to, now calculate that, that's what, 125? Now, this circle is in the standard form here, okay? What's my center? Center is negative 11, what? 0, and my radius is going to be principal square root of 125, which is what? Oh shoot, what's the square root of 125? Maybe I'll have to do some scratch work, right? Oh, could I say that's 25 times 5 to give me 125? What's the square root of 25? 5. Now I'm left over with the square root of 5. So my radius will be 5. Square root of 5. There's my center and radius by completing this square.